Hello. This week, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite activities, stripping. Some of you out there might like it when your stripping is really wet. Others might like it when it's really hot. And the rest of you might like it when it's really rough. Now keep your pants on, Pee Wee Herman. You didn't really think I'd be doing the stripping, did you? Of course not. I'm talking about stripping furniture. One method that is wet, one that is hot, and one that is rough. Now obviously you cannot adequately strip furniture sitting in an armchair, so for this video we will be getting low, and by that I mean we're going to be working on the floor. One way that this is like actual people stripping is the fact that I will be working on my knees throughout this video. What you need to get the project started is a piece of wood or furniture or molding or whatever that is painted that you want to take the paint off of to get down to the natural wood, like this cabinet right behind me. So what I have here is a cabinet door off of a hutch. And the first technique I'm going to show you is how to strip when it's wet. So what I have here is a chemical stripper. Basically what it is kind of like acetone, if you ever use that to take off nail polish. It smells very strongly and is very dangerous to the human body, as well as latex paint on a piece of wood. As soon as you take the lid off, like I have just done, you will be greeted with a very strong smell. So you're going to want to do this in a well-ventilated area. And the other thing you're going to want to do is not pour the chemical directly onto the wood, because that often can scald the wood or burn it and actually leave white splotches all over the piece. What they suggest is getting a metal container like this, like a metal bowl or something that you can actually dip your brush into to apply the chemical to the wood. Alright, so here we go. The liquid is like a yellow, kind of boogery color. It's quite thick. But just brush it with the grain of the wood. Don't play with it too much though. And then just leave it on there. You'll usually have to leave it sit for about 15 minutes or so. But once you notice that the paint is starting to bubble off of the wood, that means it's ready to be scraped with a scraping device of some kind, like this plaster knife. Alright, so mine has been sitting on the piece of wood for about 15 minutes. I can see that I've got some nice bubble action going on in the paint. So before you start to scrape, I would suggest you grab a rag or paper towel of some kind, because you're going to want to keep your spatula or whatever you're scraping the piece with clean. And pretty much just take it in your hand and, following the grain of the wood, just kind of scrape the stripper off. As you can see, this piece actually has a couple different layers of paint on it. So what I have done is just scraped off the top layer to reveal that I'm actually going to have to do quite a bit of work on this piece, because there is a robin egg blue color underneath the beige. Alright, so if you find that the chemical stripper just isn't for you because you don't like killing brain cells, or maybe you're an Eskimo and you'd rather do something that involves heat, you can use one of these fancy pants heat guns, which is not a blow dryer and cannot be interchanged with one to blow dry your hair. I have found that it basically just sets your hair on fire because it gets much hotter than a blow dryer. Basically what this does is uses heat to kind of burn the paint off of the wood, which is really quite exciting. So again, you're going to need a scraper and a heat gun. All you have to do is, like a blow dryer, there is a low, off, or high setting. No snowflake setting, unfortunately, because then it would not be a heat gun. But I like to use it on high. So you can hear that it is on now. And just holding it a few inches off of the wood. Now this will also take a couple minutes. And this also has quite a distinct odor. The smell of latex burning. Kind of like if a balloon factory were ever to catch on fire, it would smell like this. Now, as you can see, the area where I applied the chemical stripper worked much faster than where I was applying the heat gun. Now, the final technique, for those of you who prefer it to be a little rough, is a palm sander, an electric sander. You can also just use sandpaper by hand. I found, though, just to save time and your energy, using an electric sander like this by Craftsman is perfect. You just get little sanding pads, put them on here. This moves around and just turns the paint into dust, and then it's gone. Using one of these is fun because usually there is so much dust flying around, it's like you're at a party at Studio 54 back in the day or something. Usually what I like to do is go in the order that I have just demonstrated to you. So I'll start with a chemical stripper just to get the top layer of the paints off. And after that, I will go in just very lightly with sandpaper just to try and knock off all the excess liquid stripper that I have on there. Then I'll go over it again with the heat gun just to kind of burn off all those pesky areas where the paint is really stuck. And then I'll just prepare it for the coat of stain or paint. If you stripped off all the paint to put more paint on, I don't know what you're thinking. But I usually use this to finish up the project, to prepare it for whatever I'm going to seal the piece of furniture with, just to give it a nice smooth surface so that whatever I'm putting on top of it will coat nicely and evenly. So pretty much that's just a very quick rundown of the 3 different techniques I like to use whenever I'm working on a piece of furniture. So I hope you've got a little bit more insight into how to go about working on any project that you have coming up. And keep in mind that these are not the only ways to get paint off of furniture. These are just 3 techniques that I personally like to use whenever I'm working on a project. Your local hardware store should probably have all of the products that I was talking about. Like I said, I typically use a combination of all 3. But every piece of furniture is different and every person is different. So find the technique that works best for you and get your stripping on, or strip off. Don't forget, if you guys have any questions about any design dilemmas that you're having in your own home or any projects that you would like to get a little bit more information about how to go about doing them, drop me your questions in the comment box below. I would be more than happy to help. Also, don't forget, you guys can find me on Facebook or Twitter, /JoeDillDesigns. It would be great if you all subscribed to the channel, gave it a thumbs up, or commented on it, or shared it with your friends. Because stripping is fun when you do it together. So until next week. I'm in love with a stripper. You didn't really think I was going to take my clothes off, did you? Pervert.